The wild turkey has inspired one of the most time-honored chapters in the Journal of American Hunting Traditions. Throughout our history, the challenges of outsmarting a wild turkey on its own turf has drawn generations of dedicated hunters into the timbered woods. Fortunately, Colorado is now home to robust populations of two subspecies of these remarkable birds. First, Colorado's native wild turkey, the Merriams, which is indigenous to the mountainous regions of the state. And then the Rio Grande, a flatland turkey that was introduced into Colorado's high plains in the 1980s. The plight of the native Merriams is one of the greatest comeback stories in the history of wildlife. Decades of unregulated hunting during Colorado's early settlement took a heavy toll on the mountain turkeys. By the early 1930s, their numbers had shriveled, and the entire population was teetering on the edge of extinction. Fortunately, better days lay ahead. In the years that followed, the Division of Wildlife laid the plans for restoring the native wild turkey to its historic range. Through a combination of hunting regulations plus an extensive and ongoing relocation program, the Colorado Division of Wildlife has successfully reestablished the Merriam's populations on millions of acres of public lands throughout the state. Colorado's other wild turkey is the Rio Grande. Today, their greatly extended range covers hundreds of miles of riparian forests. And now, those well-established populations provide hunters with premium hunting opportunities made available through a limited licensing system. Merriam's and Rio Grande wild turkeys are very similar in size and appearance. Identification of these species is generally determined by where they live. However, the males or toms differ slightly in coloration. Merriam's tail feathers are tipped in white, while the Rios are buff-colored. Fortunately, positive identification is not necessary, since hunting regulations are the same for both species. Colorado has two annual turkey seasons, a fall season, which allows hunters to bag a turkey of either sex, and a spring season, which gives hunters an opportunity to take a bearded turkey during the mating season. A turkey's beard is actually a tuft of specialized feathers growing from his chest. The hens of both species are basically identical in appearance. Hens are slightly smaller than the toms, and they lack the bright coloration on their head. Spring turkey hunting is rich in both folklore and tradition. It has become an important part of our national heritage. It remains today as one of the most rewarding activities that the outdoors has to offer. Spring has arrived, and the large flocks that travel together in the winter are now dispersing into smaller groups. It's mating season, and the stage is set. It's time for the birds to carry out the ancient ritual of selecting the strongest and the fittest to preserve the species. For the mature males, called toms or gobblers, this is a time of intense competition for breeding rights. Only the most dominant toms will remain with the hens. The others will have to hang around and watch from a distance. For the hens, It's a time of foraging on the fresh green foliage of spring, while waiting for the toms to figure out who will remain with the flock for mating. The time for the hens to fulfill their roles in the mating game will come later, when they have nests to build and eggs to tend. During this time, immature males called jakes also must travel outside the perimeter of the strutting grounds and away from the hens. The jakes have short, stubby beards and tail feathers that are not fully developed. As hard as the gobblers may try to keep their harem in check, a hen will stray. And for the outcast toms and jakes, a hen outside the harem is fair game. Inside every gobbler's neon blue head, there's just one thing on his mind: mating. And it's that obsession that makes an otherwise wary bird drop his guard. Spring turkey hunting revolves around the fact that gobblers and jakes will come looking for a lost hen. And it's this fact that gives the hunter a chance to call a gobbler to him by hiding in the woods and imitating the calls of a hen. Wild turkeys are masters at avoiding predators. When choosing hunting clothes, keep in mind a turkey's extraordinary eyesight and superior sense of hearing. Your outerwear should blend into the surroundings when you're sitting still and should not make a lot of noise if you have to shift a little. Hide as much skin as possible. Cover your face with a mask and wear gloves. Camouflage clothing is fine, but expensive camo patterns are not necessary. Dark drab clothing in brown, olive, and khaki will work just as well. More important than your style of camo is your ability to sit still, and that means being comfortable. Turkeys can detect movement from a distance. Your gear should allow you to be able to sit still and quiet while calling. And to remain virtually motionless for several minutes when a turkey is in sight. A small backpack or day pack is ideal for carrying extra gear and food, and it makes a nice backrest against a tree. A hunting vest is handy if it has pockets for calls, water, snacks, and rain gear. Some hunting vests include a padded seat. Some hunters prefer to hunt from portable ground blinds. These allow the hunter freedom of movement without being detected. Once a calling location is chosen, most hunters set out one or more decoys. A decoy can help draw a gobbler into a spot that provides a hunter a clear shot. The downside to using a hen decoy in open country is the chance of having a gobbler strutting and gobbling in the distance, but refusing to come any closer. This is when a gobbler is said to be hung up. He knows the hen can see him, and he expects her to come to him. Some confident turkey hunters shun the use of decoys. It is one less thing to carry in the field, and they contend that if the gobbler can't see the hen that is calling, he will keep coming until he finds her. One decoy tactic that works in many situations is to set out both a hen and a jake decoy. The idea of a jake hanging out with a single hen is something the other jakes and gobblers will not tolerate. A gang of jakes roughing up a decoy can be downright comical and great fun to watch. Longbeard showing his dominance over the decoy gives an archery hunter time to make a well-placed shot. Spring turkey season revolves around the art of calling. Turkey calls come in two basic styles: friction calls and mouth-operated calls. Friction calls include box calls such as this traditional style and this easy-to-use plunger style, and scratch calls, which are referred to as slates or pots. Mouth-operated calls include diaphragm calls and wingbone yelpers. All of these calls are designed to imitate the vocalizations of the hens. Gobble calls should be used sparingly. They're relatively unproductive, except when used as a shock call to locate turkeys on the roost. And they can be unsafe. Sounding like a gobbler in the woods may inadvertently call in another hunter. While mastering the entire vocabulary of a hen turkey can be personally gratifying and a great way to impress other hunters, most gobblers could care less. Becoming proficient at just one or two basic calls is all that is necessary to become a successful hunter. The first call you need to learn is the yelp. Hens do a lot of yelping. They yelp while on the roost, off the roost, when alone, when they are feeding, in a flock, and when they are competing with hens for a tom. It's almost impossible to go wrong with the yelp, and even if you do make a mistake, it probably won't send the gobblers sprinting over the next ridge. Yelps sound like this on a box call, like this on a slate, a diaphragm, a wingbone, and a plunger. Take care not to overcall with the yelp. If every yelp elicits a gobble from the turkey you are working, it may be fun to listen to, but it can be overdone. Too much yelping, and the gobbler may become suspicious and get hung up. As the gobbler gets closer, if you feel you need to continue calling, lower the volume of the yelp or switch to the purr, which is referred to as a finishing call. Purrs are soft and slow. Another easy call to learn is the cluck. Clucks are believed to imitate a contented hen, but that, of course, is merely speculation. Nevertheless, hens cluck when all is well with the flock. Clucks sound like this. Calling is an important part of the game, but nothing increases your chances for success more than scouting, especially when hunting Merriams. Merriam's wild turkeys, unlike the Rios who are confined to narrow river bottoms, have plenty of room to roam. They live in the great expanses of our national forests, where they are abundant in number, but they can be hard to find. The key to success lies in the scouting, and for many turkey hunters, scouting is a year-round activity. The best way to find good places to hunt is hiking around turkey country and keeping an eye out for sign. Even if you don't see them, you can tell they are present by the sign they leave on the forest floor. Turkeys are large birds, and they leave behind a lot of sign as they wander around foraging for both edible plants and insects. Turkey sign includes their scat, which is easy to recognize. It looks like other bird droppings, except much larger. Turkey tracks are also easy to identify. Check wet, muddy, or sandy areas for the familiar three-toed prints. Also, look for lost feathers and for scratch marks in the leaves and grass. Check the bases of large trees that have suitable high branches for roosting. A large amount of scat at the base indicates that the tree is used often. Once you have determined that turkeys are in an area, you may be able to pinpoint their location by hearing them gobble when they go to roost. On a still night, gobbles can be heard from a considerable distance. If you know turkeys are in an area, drive forest access roads at dusk during the season. Stop every mile or so, use a loud shock call, and listen for gobbles. Loud calls like crow calls will elicit a response from an unseen gobbler on a roost deep in the forest. When you hear a gobble, mark your location on a map and draw a line in the direction that the gobble came from. Now drive down the road and repeat the procedure. Where the lines intersect is where you want to be before daylight in the morning. In spring, hunters are restricted to using shotguns or bow and arrow. Shotguns in 12 or 20 gauge should have full chokes that group the shot into a small pattern. Patterning your shotgun prior to hunting builds confidence and leads to a clean kill shot. Pattern your shotgun from a distance of about 20 yards. If the shot pattern is concentrated exactly where you aimed, you're good to go. For a clean kill shot, you want to concentrate as much of the shot as possible in the turkey's head and neck. When hunting, always keep safety in mind. When calling, sit with your back against a tree. Do not wear red or blue clothing, and take extra precautions when changing locations or when carrying a dead bird through heavy timber. Turkey hunting, like most sports, has its own lingo. Learning these terms gives any hunter a good insight into how the game is played. A longbeard is a mature tom with an above-average beard. Although long is a subjective term, a gobbler usually isn't considered a long beard until he is 3 years old and his beard reaches 8 inches. Boss gobbler means exactly that, the dominant tom in the flock and the one with the largest harem. Getting busted is when the turkey wins the game. That's when the bird you are working detects your presence and promptly vacates the playing field. The lead hen is the matriarch of the flock. Where the lead hen goes, the others usually follow. Many times it's the lead hen that a hunter has to compete with when the turkeys fly down from the roost. The lead hen will yelp again and again to keep the gobbler with her instead of coming to you. This is one situation where it's okay to call loudly and often. If a gobbler is said to be henned up, that means he is with a group of hens or harem, and he will be difficult to call in. If a gobbler is hung up, that means he can be seen strutting in the distance, or he can be heard gobbling, but he refuses to come any closer. Call shy is a term used for turkeys that get a lot of hunting pressure and have heard it all coming from hunters. Call shy gobblers may shy away from a hunter that is over calling. A shock gobble is when a turkey gobbles in response to a loud noise or a sound from a potential predator. Hunters use shock calls to locate turkeys on the roost. Putting them to bed does not mean sending them to the big sleep. It means being nearby when they fly up into the roost tree at sunset. Once wild turkeys are on the roost, they'll remain there all night. A common strategy is to set up where the birds are expected to travel after they fly down from the roost. Working a gobbler is the name of the game, and that is what spring turkey hunting is all about. Working a gobbler is a combination of calling and waiting. Turkey hunting can be one of Colorado's most exhilarating and enjoyable outdoor pastimes. Observing a Rocky Mountain meadow or taking in a bustling river bottom on a vibrant spring day is an absolute serene experience. The thrill of calling in a magnificent quarry like a strutting tom is captivating. In the end, if you scout hard and put them to bed, if you sit still and call well, if you muster the patience to let the gobbler come to you, and if you make a clean shot, you can take pride in winning the game and outsmarting the smartest bird in the woods.